The late afternoon sun bled golden light across the trees as Lena Monroe stepped onto the winding trail behind her new house. Autumn was in full swing. Leaves rustled and danced across the path, swirling in the wind like paper memories. The scent of pine and cold earth mingled in the crisp air. The neighborhood was quiet, almost too quiet, just how Lena liked it lately. Her hand rested on her belly as she walked, feeling the occasional flutter beneath her palm. She was 8 months pregnant, just a few weeks shy of the due date. This baby was a miracle. After the miscarriage last year, every step of this pregnancy had been marked by anxiety. Every doctor's appointment, every moment of silence from inside her womb, every late-night Google search. But today felt calm. For once, Lena hadn't ventured far from the house since moving into the new neighborhood 2 weeks ago. Her husband, Jared, had left early that morning for a last-minute business trip, his voice full of apologies and reassurances. "I'll only be gone 2 days," he'd said, cupping her face gently. "Just promise me you'll take it easy. No stress." No stress, she'd promised. But stress was baked into her bones now, like a quiet drumbeat behind her ribs. The walking trail curled through a strip of woods just behind the row of suburban homes. Neighbors had mentioned it was a good spot for quiet walks. She needed that. Needed to be alone with her thoughts, without the sound of a television or the buzz of her phone. About 10 minutes in, she paused to catch her breath. Her back ached. She rubbed her side, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. The wind had picked up. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked once, sharp and low. Then again. And again. Lena straightened slowly, a ripple of unease tightening her chest. She turned toward the sound, squinting. A shadow moved in the trees just off the path. Then it broke into the open, a dog. Big. Muscular. Dark brown, with scars along its snout and shoulders. His ears were pinned back, and his mouth hung open, panting, barking. Lena froze. The dog, no collar, no leash, was charging down the hill straight toward her. Her first thought was, "I can't run." Her second, the baby. Her legs locked. She couldn't move. All she could do was shield her stomach with both arms and try to scream, but her voice stuck in her throat. The dog stopped a few feet from her, barking wildly, pacing back and forth, cutting her off from the path behind her. He wasn't growling, but the sound of his barks, raw and frantic, sent ice down her spine. "Go away," she whispered, trembling. "Please." The dog didn't move. He barked louder, sniffing the air, his eyes locked on her, no, on her stomach. She took a shaky step back. Then another. He followed. And that's when someone yelled, "Hey! Somebody call the police. That dog's loose again." Officer Sean Daniels hated silence. Not the peaceful kind, the soft rustle of trees, or the hush of a quiet night shift. No, he hated the other kind. The kind that came after the call. After the sirens. After the too late. He heard it sometimes in his dreams. Sometimes even when he was awake. So when the dispatch call came through, large dog behaving aggressively near the woods on Maple Hollow Trail. Woman possibly in distress. He flipped on his lights without hesitation and took the turn sharper than he should have. Another dog call. Another aggressive report. He muttered under his breath. He knew this neighborhood. Knew most of the dogs around here too. And he knew that one. As his cruiser bumped onto the gravel path, he saw the scene ahead. A visibly pregnant woman, frozen in place, eyes wide with panic. Her back was against a low wooden fence. In front of her, the dog, huge, matted, pacing like a metronome with a pulse. Bear. Daniel's jaw clenched. He recognized the dog instantly. Bear had been a rescue, mistreated, nearly put down after a rough encounter with a former owner. The only reason he was still around was because a local vet had pleaded for his life. Bear had lived with her at the edge of town ever since, mostly kept away from people. Never aggressive, but always alert. Tense. Watchful. Daniels stepped out of the cruiser slowly. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" he called, one hand hovering over the grip of his taser. The woman, Lena, shook her head. Her breath came in short gasps. "He won't let me leave. He keeps barking." Bear turned to Daniels, let out another sharp bark, and then did something strange. He ran in a tight circle, then back to Lena's side, sniffed her belly, barked again, frantic now, almost a howl. Daniels had seen dogs bark out of aggression, fear, territory. This was none of those. This was desperation. Bear, Daniels said firmly, taking a cautious step forward. Back off, buddy. She's scared. Come on now. Bear didn't move. Lena's knees buckled. Daniels moved fast, reaching out, too late. She collapsed in a slow-motion fall, her hands scraping the wood of the fence as her body folded in on itself. Shit. Daniels dropped to his knees beside her. Ma'am? Can you hear me? Lena's face had gone pale, almost blue around the lips. Her eyes rolled slightly. A faint groan escaped her lips. Bear let out a low, mournful sound and lay beside her, his head resting near her belly, like a guardian. Daniels fumbled for his radio. This is Unit 27. I've got a pregnant woman unconscious. Possible medical emergency. I need EMTs at Maple Hollow Trail immediately. Hurry. He looked down again, watching as Bear licked her hand gently. Daniels didn't fully understand what was happening, but somewhere deep in his gut a memory stirred. Another dog. Another woman. But that time no one listened. He remembered the scene, a little girl lost for hours, a family dog barking at a cellar door no one bothered to check. By the time they did, he shook it off. Not again. The ambulance lights were still minutes away, but it already felt like time had shifted thicker somehow. Slower. Bear remained utterly still, eyes on Lena, chest rising and falling in rhythm with hers. Daniels whispered, "You knew, didn't you?" Bear didn't look at him. The wail of sirens pierced the air minutes later, but to Officer Daniels, they felt a mile away, like a song heard underwater. He knelt in the dirt beside Lena, her breath shallow and irregular. Her skin was turning the color of paper. He pressed 2 fingers against her neck, feeling for a pulse. It was there, faint, fluttering, fading. Bear hadn't moved. The dog lay protectively near her side, massive body still, golden eyes locked on hers. His ears twitched at the sound of the sirens, but he didn't budge. Not an inch. Daniels spoke low, trying to keep her conscious. "Stay with me, okay? Help's coming. Just stay awake." Lena tried to respond, but only a strangled whisper came out. Something about her expression, fear, confusion, pain, brought back a wave of something Daniels had tried to drown long ago. The image of a little girl with wide brown eyes. A cellar door. A dog barking for hours. And no one had listened. He looked at Bear. "You tried to tell us." The paramedics rushed in, taking control in seconds, cutting open Lena's jacket, lifting her carefully onto the stretcher. One of them, a woman with sharp eyes and steady hands, turned to Daniels. "Placental abruption. We've got to move now." He nodded, stepping back as they loaded Lena into the ambulance. Blood. He hadn't seen it before. Dark, soaking into the dirt where she'd fallen. Daniels felt the ground sway under him. "Will she make it?" he asked quietly. The medic's face didn't flinch. "Maybe. If we get there fast." Then they were gone. Flashing lights vanishing down the road. Daniels stood alone on the trail, silence pressing against him once more. Bear sat down slowly, letting out a deep, trembling breath. His entire body sagged. "You knew," Daniels said again, softer now. "You were trying to warn her." Bear didn't react. Just stared down the path the ambulance had taken. A breeze rustled the leaves. Somewhere distant, a crow cawed. Daniels crouched beside the dog. "You saved them. I didn't listen in time." His voice cracked on the last word. He reached out, gently running a hand along Bear's head. The dog leaned into it, not with trust, but with something older. Something sad. 3 hours later, Daniels sat in his patrol car, parked outside the emergency room. His radio crackled occasionally, but he didn't respond. The world had narrowed to this sterile, humming building and the weight in his chest. He was about to leave when a nurse tapped on his window. Mid-50s. Kind eyes. The sort that carried hard news gently. "She's stable," she said. So, is the baby? Barely. Daniels felt the breath leave his lungs. She wanted me to thank someone, the nurse added, a smile tugging at her mouth. Said it wasn't you, though. Said it was a dog. Daniels nodded. Bear. The nurse blinked. That was the dog on the call? He didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, yeah, that was him. But Bear didn't make it through the night. When Daniels returned to the trail the next morning, he found the dog curled under the old porch of a neighbor's abandoned shed. Eyes closed. Still. No signs of violence. No injury. Just stillness. Some said his heart gave out. Others whispered that once his job was done, he simply let go. Daniels knelt beside him, running a hand over the thick fur. Too late, he whispered. I keep hearing those words. But this time, maybe not. The world came back to Lena slowly, through a fog of white light, beeping monitors, and the antiseptic smell of hospital air. Her eyelids were heavy, but her fingers twitched. Her belly felt different. Her first thought wasn't about herself. It was about the silence. Then, softly, like a whisper through water, a sound. A baby's cry. Tears welled before her eyes fully opened. She turned her head slowly and saw a nurse cradling a small bundle near the warmer. Tiny, red-faced, alive. Alive. A sob broke from her throat, and the nurse turned, smiling. Your baby's a fighter, she said gently. So are you. Lena tried to speak, but her throat was raw. The nurse moved closer, placing her baby into her arms. The warmth. The weight. The heartbeat. But with it came another memory. That moment in the woods. The barking. The panic. The fall. The dog, she croaked, her voice barely a whisper. Where's the dog? Later that evening, after the nurses had come and gone, Jared sat beside her. His eyes were red, but his grip on her hand was strong. You scared the hell out of me, he whispered. They said if it had been even 5 more minutes. She looked away. The dog, he was trying to protect me. Jared nodded slowly. I know. She blinked at him. You know? He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded letter. The paper was smudged, creased, handled too many times already. Officer Daniels came by earlier. He left this. Said it was meant for you. She unfolded the letter with trembling fingers. Lena, I don't expect you to remember much from today. And I don't expect you to understand why a dog you'd never met gave everything for you and your child. But I think I know. His name was Bear. He came from hurt. From people who saw him as dangerous, broken, disposable. But Bear had something most people don't. He listened. He heard something none of us did. Something in you. Something wrong. And he knew. I've carried the guilt of not listening once before. A little girl died because of that. Because we ignored a dog who barked at the door for hours. We found her body 2 days later. Not this time. This time, Bear didn't give up on you. And I won't let people forget that. Your baby lives because of him. Officer Sean Daniels. Tears fell freely down Lena's cheeks, soaking the page. Her arms tightened around her baby. She didn't speak for a long time. Didn't need to. 3 weeks later, a small group gathered at the edge of the trail. Neighbors, a few officers, the vet who had once saved Bear from euthanasia. Lena stood quietly, baby in her arms, Jared beside her. Officer Daniels said a few words, nothing dramatic. Just the truth. A dog that was misunderstood saved a life. Maybe 2. That's more than most people ever do. They unveiled a small wooden bench, carved with careful hands. On it was a brass plate. In memory of Bear. Protector. Hero. Friend. He listened when no one else did. Lena sat for a long while after everyone left, baby sleeping against her chest, the leaves swirling around them. She looked out into the trees, into the quiet, and whispered, "Thank you."